Hello and welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith and today we are going to be doing the Upkeep video in between A Ship in a Storm, the scenario we just finished successfully and completed. Thank goodness we managed to get through that. Our heroes ended up going invisible in the last turn and avoiding all this crazy elite insanity. So we played that really well. And now we're going to move into the Upkeep. So let's get right into it. So the very first things that I did for our Upkeep video was get our party sheet in order. And the only thing on the party sheet to really care about is just dropping the achievement of keeping Drill and Barty alive. So I just dropped that in there. Again, in the actual main game, these achievements, I think you'll be able to keep track of things that are a little bit more higher level, like things like global achievements, for instance, along the very top of the map, which are kind of here. So for now, I'm just using this as kind of an area to keep track of the things that we've successfully completed, which at this point is every single scenario because I have gone back and replayed the ones that I failed, as I talked about in previous Upkeep videos. So let's move on to what we get for winning this particular Ship in a Storm scenario. So the very first thing that I saw after we completed was our rewards were a Stormblade, which is item 78. So I went ahead because I was pretty excited to find out what that is. And this card right here is the one that we have won in this scenario, and it is a very cool looking card because we have actually seen the wind generation happen more times than not recently, especially when a wind demon's involved. So what this does is when you're doing a regular melee attack, if this holds focus, there we go, that we can consume the wind element to add a +2 to our single attack. Now this card though, the really cool thing about it is it doesn't exhaust, and it also it's not consumed. So it's a card that literally can always be used, which is insane because as long as that wind element is ready to go, we can use it, and that's going to be a huge bonus. So for now, I'm not going to say which guy I'm going to put this on, but it's going to be going onto one of them because we do have an empty hand slot left. We only have one hand slot for this bomb here, and we have an empty hand slot because we're only carrying one of the bombs here. So we can go ahead at some point and drop this into either character's hand to start a scenario. So I'll make that decision when we move into the scenario based on my strategy, or at least a strategy that I think is going to win. But anyway, it's a very, very cool looking card. So that's something that we won. The other thing that we get is we get 10 extra experience each. So let's move into the experience for the two characters. So the Craighart, for instance, had originally 97. Which had him sitting into the 95 level 3 category as of last round. So what did we gain here? So what I did was 97 was always there from the end of the scenario. The 6 is what he's gathered in terms of his own experience during the scenario. The 8 is actually our new bonus experience because, guys, we're playing at a higher level now, scenario level wise. So as you can see here, if you're playing in scenario level 2 where the monsters are 3 like we were for solo play, then our bonus experience now is 8, right? And you can go into the actual manual in order to find this information out, but it lets you know there's a nifty equation as to how and why you're playing a certain scenario, so make sure you check that out. But yeah, we get 8 experience, which is really cool. And then beside it, there's a 10. Now the 10 is obviously coming from the 10 experience that we gained from completing this scenario. So really a huge boost of experience. So the Craighart ended up going to 121, but as you can see, he needs to get to 150 in order to get to level 4. And thankfully we won't hit that just yet because he's going to tip our whole party into a higher scenario level if he keeps ripping away with the XP. The other thing that happens is our gold. Now we originally had 12 left on the Craighart. This is what he had in his pockets prior to the scenario, A Ship in a Storm. We now collected only 1 gold. Now, the other thing about this is when you go up in a scenario level, your gold increases as well. So our conversion now on the scenario level 2 is going to be 3. So that means we are going to get 3 coins to replace this guy right here. Now, I don't actually have that out on the table this time like I normally do during these videos. But for now, I'm just going to go like this and put +3 equals 15, so we know. And then we have, in terms of perks and things like that, well guys, remember back when I was playing through the scenario and I did the foolish thing of not just taking long rest for this scenario and instead I did a short rest? Yeah, we didn't get this battle card. It was an easy one. I made a real big goof. And the problem was I was going to go back and take it back so that I could make sure I get this, but I'd already put the short rest cards back into the holders. And then I ran into the trouble of going, oh shoot, I don't know which ones I put in and which ones were already there. And I didn't want to go back through the video to find out. So I was kind of like, oh shoot, well, you know what? When you make a mistake, sometimes you own it, and this is one of those times. So I decided to own that mistake on my part. We're not going to get that perk. It's okay though. You know, the Craigheart's actually more powerful than the Tinker right now, so maybe it's nice that he gets to slow down just a little bit. And then we're going to go over to the Tinker. So the Tinker now was on level 2 last round, right? Now we had 92 experience at the end of the last Upkeep video before this scenario we just played. And so he was just shy of to get to that 3rd level like the Craigheart. But during this scenario, he was able to pick up 4 experience himself, as you can see there with the marker. And he was able to grab 8 experience because we successfully completed the scenario as a bonus experience. And then 10 extra experience for the rewards, which again, I told you guys is shown on the sheet, the scenario sheet itself. So really more than enough to jump him past the 95 he needs. So at this point, we can go ahead and we can cross this 3 level off. The Tinker is officially on the 3rd level. So that's really cool. In terms of gold, the Tinker is a very rich individual, has lots and lots of gold over here just sitting in his buckets. Now, he only ended up getting 3 coins, but when you add 3 to 28, well, that's still a lot of money. That actually puts him into a situation where he can purchase something that's likely to be useful for him. So what I'm going to do is, I don't actually have the shop cards out at the moment, but I'm going to, and if I go ahead and purchase anything with this 31, which I'm very tempted to do, because once you get to 30, you're talking about some pretty useful cards. I'm going to take a look. If there's anything useful to purchase, I will. And then at the very beginning of the next scenario, I'll let you guys know what I bought in case you're curious about that, because I don't see why you wouldn't be. So that covers the Tinker's gold. In terms of items, I just wrote down what the Tinker has. So these 2 item sections of the characters are really just a reference. I don't really need to fill them in because I've got them here, but I'm going to I'm just going to add the extra items that we unlocked during the previous campaigns to make sure that these 2 are updated correctly. We also get a perk, and we don't want to forget about that. You know, when we level up, not only does the Tinker get to move his new health level to the 3rd rung, which is awesome because it's a 2 XP jump. When he goes to the 3rd level, he goes from 9 to 11, which is awesome. And you know the Tinker needs that health because he's one of those guys that typically gets beat up on pretty easily. So we have 11 health Tinker now, and we are going to start with a 14 health Craigheart. That's pretty good. We get some pretty solid characters, but remember, our monsters are getting tougher too, so it's evening itself out. Now, in terms of the perks, when you level up, you always get a perk, and I've gone ahead and taken a look at them, and I really like this perk. It's this one right here. It says add 2, and this little symbol right here is something we haven't really gotten into too much in this particular situation because we really haven't had the cards to get it. But really what this is called is it's like a rolling modifier essentially. So we're going to go ahead and check this. What this does is going to add 2 cards that look like this into the Tinker's deck. Now when we pull these cards, if we're actually doing an attack, say with the modifier, and say we had this card was sleeved and it was sitting on top, if we actually pulled this card, what this means essentially is the attacker or the target of our attack is going to gain the wounded symbol, which is nice because it's going to get that wound symbol, which ensures that it gets wounded once at the start of every one of its turns until, of course, it heals itself, and hopefully it doesn't. But you don't just pull the 1 card. Because this is a symbol that has a rolling modifier symbol, you're supposed to pull another. So what would happen is this would happen. So then your attack of, say you're attacking with 2 against the Frost Demon, let's say it had no shields. So it's an attack at 2, the Frost Demon would have fire put on it in terms of a wound, but then 1 damage would get through based on the modifier we pulled. And that's how you'd resolve these rolling modifiers. They just keep going until now there is a finicky rule, which I'm gonna have to look up, because if you happen to pull 1 modifier and then this one's sitting here and we flip another one, there is a certain limit to how this rolling modifier works. Like it goes, but it doesn't go forever. So I'm going to double check on that rule because it's possible now that we have 2 cards we may run into it, and that would be good to know. So I'm going to take a look at that in the rules, and we'll see if I can sort that out. But anything else here? I think so. Rolling modifier, I think that's good. So essentially I'm going to sleeve these 2 cards. They're going to end up going into the Tinker's deck as the perk for going to level 3. Now we know with our scenario level stuff, we have to take the average of the party. So we know the average of the party in terms of level is 3, so that's 3. You divide it by 2, so that's 1.5, and then you round up and you round up to the next number, so 1.5 rounded up is 2. So we are still at scenario level 2, and that's how you determine what your scenario level is. So in the last mission, we actually had a little tougher time because the Craighart was more ready in terms of HP and health and stuff like that, and being at a higher level had more perks to be able to do this battle, whereas the Tinker was lagging behind to face such insane enemies, which is why there was a couple times there where the Tinker was taking quite a beating and not able to keep up with things. So now that we've leveled up to level 3, we should do a better job in the next scenario staying on top of things, and that should really help us out. So I think that's pretty much everything. Oh, battle gold cards for the Tinker. Don't want to forget that. So the Tinker actually ended up getting this battle goal card. So this is called the Aggressor, and we'd seen it before, and for some crazy reason we pulled the exact same. I mean, we have to pull 2 battle cards and choose one, but I got this one again, and I love it because it just says have 1 or more monsters present on the map at the beginning of every round during the scenario. And for these ones where you're fighting enemies, it's very, very easy for this to happen. And the crazy thing about it is you get 2 check marks. In my opinion, this is probably an error on Issac's part. He probably wants to drop this to a 1 because this is like the simplest battle card to get. If you ever see it, it's almost guaranteed you should grab it because it's very easy to complete. There's almost always at the beginning of a round a monster, and you can almost always ensure that happens if you play it smart at the end. So I just don't see any reason why this would ever be a difficult battle goal card, and so I love it for that reason. So the Tinker is going to actually begin a brand new checkmark kind of area here, going after another perk check. So he's going to get 2 checks here. So the next one will allow him to get another perk, which is awesome. So that's pretty much it, guys. The only other thing I want to mention is when the Tinker goes to the next level, so being level 3, 2 new cards are unlocked for him. Now these 2 cards right here are called Tinker's Tools and the Crankbow. Now both of those cards are cards I can shift in and out of my deck. The weird thing is, though, I looked at them and I wasn't really enthralled by them, to be honest. They're good. I'm not saying that they're not good, but I like the Tinker's deck currently. I'm able to manipulate things nicely. I have good movement control. I have good ability to drop high damage attacks and high damage traps. I got pulls. I got all that kind of stuff. Whereas this, really, this is more of the same. The Crankbow for me is pretty much what I already have. I have a card that can do massive damage, but again, I lose it, and then I have tons of movement. I don't really need the 66 initiative card in there. This one's nice because the initiative is a little lower, but the Tinker already has like 4 or 5 cards that are under 20. So, you know, I just don't see the drive for this one. The only thing out of all these 4 that I like is this one, Disarm 1 Adjacent Traps. So if I saw that a scenario had a lot of traps, I might come back and put this card in my deck, but as of right now, I'm going to actually, for the first time when I level up, I'm not going to put any of this level into my deck. Not that I think these cards are bad, I'm not seeing the draw. I'm not seeing any kind of comboing that's really going to give me anything that I enjoy there. This is a Create 1 Stun Trap and Adjacent Empty Hex, but again, you have to remember, enemies are smart, so those traps are only useful when you get kind of bogged into a corner, like say if you were Barty, and there was a barrel here, let's say, right here, so nothing could get around, and this was the only way to get to you, then it'd be cool to put a trap, because the only way a monster can get to you is coming through that trap, right? Always monsters aren't stupid, they're always going to try to take the longest route around if there's a trap placed down, so that's why those traps are good, but they're not great, because you really need to be in a strategic position to make sure that the monsters are aware that it's their only option to get to you, because if they're ranged, they're obviously not going to bother. They're just going to shoot you from a distance, and if they're melee, they're going to try their hardest to go a different route. So anyway, that's a whole bunch of jibber jabber for strategic talk, but anyway, that's pretty much it. So those are that's the whole Upkeep video for after a ship in a storm. So I hope you guys are enjoying it. Hit the like button if you did. I really appreciate the support. You guys are awesome. Continue giving me feedback, and let's help make this this channel grow and this community grow, because I really love solo gaming. I always have, and this has been a blast to be on, a ride to be on that I'm enjoying. I want to let you guys know that for those of you that are following along thinking that once the Kickstarter comes to an end, that this channel is just going to die, it's not going to happen. I have tons of other stuff lined up. I have new games you guys haven't seen yet that I'm like chomping at the bit to get to the table, some new unboxings, all this kind of stuff. So stick around. There's going to be some really cool stuff. I'll start talking about that more sorry, at the end of more playthrough videos to let you guys know that this channel will still keep going. The only thing that will change though is I will be dropping the pace at the amount of videos that are coming out down once the Kickstarter comes out, because I can tell you it's an insane amount of work to be pumping out 10 videos or 11 videos that are around 15 to 20 minutes each within a 2-day window or something insane. It's crazy. Like, it doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a lot of work. And so I'm loving doing it, but to keep it up for a solid month, I am getting tired. I'm at the point where I'm getting a little tired, but I love Gloomhaven, and it's actually helped me so that now when I go to play with my friends or even by myself again, I'm gonna have these rules nailed down. And that's what I love about this, is like getting me to the point where I can keep my eyes closed and play this game, which is awesome, because then I can really enjoy it instead of thinking about the rules all the time. So anyway, hope you guys are enjoying the channel. Hope you guys will stick around in the future, and I really appreciate everything you guys have done so far in terms of feedback, and I cannot wait to get into the next scenario. Just so you guys are aware, the next one looks like it's called, I have it on my phone here because I don't have it printed out this time. It's called Arrival in Chains, and it actually looks very interesting because it looks like a lot of enemies, like a ton of enemies, and one tile. I'm not joking, just one tile. So this is going to be super interesting. But anyway, until the next video, guys, thanks for watching, and as always, keep rolling solo.